reach out to Alex Caiafa in the studio and we get most of what we need out of him. But this time round, we've got to go via Zoom. It's part of these COVID restrictions. I can't believe it, Alex. Listen, round 11 is coming up and it's already been disrupted because of the government decisions made in the last few hours in Victoria. So big changes coming for football this weekend. But before we do that, let's have a sticky beak at round 10, which promised to be a pretty exciting one, and it really was. It started with a fantastic game by the Lions. As you said, they were going to be a bit too strong for the Premiers, and so it came to pass.
Yeah, that did come to fruition. They were challenged early, the Lions. You know, Richmond come out firing and kicked the first 2 or 3 goals of the game, and we thought, oh, here we go, Richmond, they're on tonight, they need a win. But, you know, Brisbane, you know, up in the Gabba, they're normally a tough team to beat. It's a real fortress there. And, you know, after halftime, they really took control of the game and kicked away pretty early, and that was the ball game. And Brisbane, they look really, really good at the moment. They're absolutely flying.
Carlton did something they haven't done for about 20 years, my friend. We, the Navy Blue Baggers, not that we did anything, but our team managed to do something pretty exciting. The last time I think Carlton beat the Hawks at the MCG was the very day that Sam Walsh was born.
It was.
That's some crazy stat, isn't it?
It really is. And I mean, I'll tell you what, I was watching this game and Carlton did almost everything possible to lose the game. They couldn't execute. You know, they played a real interesting system of, you know, they were very Harry conscious, it felt like, but you just, even though it felt like, you know, they had the game on their terms, it felt like they could just easily slip away. And at halftime, I was sitting there like, oh, here we go. You know, Carlton are going to do everything they can to lose this. But credit to the Blues, a few individuals really stepped up and they got the job done. You know, their 2 big recruits, Adam Sard and Zach Williams, arguably their best games for the club. They really galvanised the Blues. You know, Mark Murphy come up with some big moments. Sam Doherty has been a revelation on the wing. Sam Walsh, you know, he's just absolutely balling at the moment. And yeah, it was good. It was a good win for the Blues. And the Hawks, you know, unfortunately, it's just been a bit of a struggle for them at the moment, and it's unlikely that that's going to change anytime soon.
One thing I can tell you, it was not a struggle for Geelong to beat the Suns.
No, it wasn't. Early on, actually, Geelong got challenged, and Gold Coast really, really took it up to them. But you know, that experience of Geelong, they just found a way, and they kicked away late in the game, and that was it.
Mate, if there was a shock, it was delivered by the Crows when they took on the Melbourne Demons and flashed them out. They scared the heck out of them, and then they beat them.
They absolutely did. I don't think anyone in their right mind in the AFL world would have tipped Adelaide to win this game. So that was an absolutely genuine shock. And Adelaide, credit to them, they fought hard. They stuck with Melbourne all game. They got challenged, and they just rose to it in a real mature performance. And, you know, it wasn't without its controversy. We obviously had the Tex goal. Then we had the, you know, as we found out by the AFL, the deliberate out of bounds at the end that could have, you know, helped Melbourne pinch the game towards the end. So a lot of controversy from it, but Adelaide, they deserved that win. They played really well.
At least there was no controversy in the Western Bulldogs clash with St Kilda. St Kilda didn't bother to turn up.
You would have thought that they were training cones or something like that. Ooh. It was a really poor game by St Kilda, and you know the Bulldogs, when they're in that mood, when they're in full out attack, they're almost impossible to stop, and we saw that in full flight on the weekend. They just ripped St Kilda apart from head to toe, and that was, your ball game was done pretty early. You know, their star midfielders, they just got on top really early, and that was it. You know, it is a shame for the Bulldogs though. They're set to lose, you know, Treloar for the next couple of months with that famous ankle syndesmosis injury now, which has required him to get surgery. So
I think he just loves.
That's the new injury we're hearing now.
I think he just loves saying it. Listen, what did you make of Fremantle beating the Swans?
Well, surprisingly, Fremantle actually have a really, really good record against Sydney, and that was my reason for tipping them last week. Is they'd won, you know, 4 of the last 5 against the Swans and make it now five of the last 6. Despite Buddy Franklin kicking 6 goals, Freo did just enough to hold on, and they're a different team when they play at Optus Stadium.
The only reason I mentioned that game was so you could tell us you tipped it right again. Did you tip the Giants to upset the Eagles?
I did not tip the Giants. I tipped the Eagles. The Eagles looked quite good early, but I mean, GWS, it's a crazy statistic. Every time Mumford's played, they've won. And, he played again on the weekend. And they won. And they win.
Yeah.
And, they just combated everything the Eagles tried to throw at them. And it's a big credit to GWS. It was a really good win.
Any credit for Port Adelaide, or they did what they needed to do to beat Collingwood?
It was a real struggle. It was definitely a real struggle for the Power. Probably late in the third quarter, I think a lot of people were thinking, okay, Collingwood might actually win this game. But, the experience of Port, that finals experience, they come out, they got the lead in that fourth quarter. They got up by a couple of goals, but then were scared towards the end. Collingwood kicked a couple of late goals and, had the potential to pinch the game, but wasn't to be. And the Power got it done by a point.
The Bombers had no problems though, proving that they were superior to the North Melbourne side. You did ask me whether the North Melbourne team, now that they had a sniff of a win, could do it a second time. The answer was no.
No, and it was no pretty early. Essendon got up by 6 goals pretty early on, and they squashed any chances of North Melbourne getting any sort of momentum into the game. And credit to the Bombers. They really took it up to them. They played free-flowing attacking football. It was actually quite good to watch, and they did it with relative ease.
Okay, very quickly now, the tips for round 11. This is the one that's been knocked around by the COVID crisis or the COVID cluster in Victoria. There are a number of games that we played without crowds. Let's go. The Bulldogs up against Melbourne. It's number 1 against number 2. Who comes out on top?
I think number 1's going to come out on top. And in this game, there was some doubt. There is actually some doubt going into this game because of the whole COVID crisis that the game might actually potentially be postponed. But we've just received word that, it's given the all clear pending Melbourne test all negative because of the player that was exposed to the Tier 1 site. So the news at the moment, at the time of this recording, is the game's going on. And if the game is going on, I'm tipping the Bulldogs.
Okay, Collingwood, who are having all massive problems on and off the field, up against the Cats.
I think it's too hard to go against the Cats. They're rolling at the moment, and even though they're going to be without Mitch Duncan this week because of the concussion protocols, I still think they've got enough there, and they should get it done relatively easily. Okay,
Lions and the Giants.
Played at the Gabba. It's too hard to go against Brisbane. They're just absolutely flying at the moment, and you got to back them in.
Okay, Saints, North Melbourne.
This is one that gets put on the spot. There's a potential for an upset here. North Melbourne could really upset St Kilda here, but I'm going to go on the side and tip St Kilda. I still think there's enough talent there that they should be able to get it done.
Hawks, Suns.
Well, this game was supposed to be played in Darwin, but because of the whole COVID situation here in Victoria and Hawthorn not leaving early, that game was potentially going to be postponed. But as we've learned, it's officially not going to be played in Darwin, but there's the potential for it to be played in Queensland, which will likely be at Gold Coast. So I think if it is played at the Gold Coast, which is what it's sounding like it will be, I'm tipping the Gold Coast here to win.
Okay, the Metricon. Essendon up against the Eagles.
I think the Eagles back in Perth, home crowd, they're going to be way too strong.
Way too strong. And of course, the only reason that game's having any success is because Essendon left early in the week, as did Carlton. Speaking of the next game, Richmond up against the Crows. You can't get the Crows to do a third upset for the season, could you?
I don't think they can. And Richmond are set to get a few of their cavalry back, the likes of Bolton, Cochin, potentially even Edwards as well. They are going to be missing Tom Lynch though, which is a very big loss, but I think they have enough depth there to make up for it, and I think Richmond will get the job.
Okay, Carlton Swans playing in Sydney.
Sydney are proving to be a team that when they play in Sydney, they're very hard to beat. So I will tip Sydney, but Carlton coming off a win, sure to be a bit confident that they can get a win. But the Swans will get my tip.
And wrapping the tips up, Port Adelaide against the Dockers. Who gets the points?
Yeah, I think at the Adelaide Oval, you got to tip Port Adelaide. It's another like the Gabba. It's a fortress to Port Adelaide, and even though they have lost a couple games there, I can't see it against Fremantle.
All right, Alex Caiafa, you got a few tips right. Let's see how you go next week. Alex Caiafa on The Informer, giving us the lowdown and the latest developments that are happening right around the AFL game.